Hey there, folks. Thanks for tuning in to another spooky tale for our late night crowd. I know you all love a good shiver before bed, so grab a blanket, dim the lights, and let me spin you a story that's been whispered around for years. This one's got that eerie, real-life feel, like something your old neighbor might mutter about over coffee. It's called Flowers in the Gut, and trust me, it'll stick with you. Here we go. It was back in the summer of 2002 in a small town just outside Pittsburgh. I was driving a shuttle van for a living, carting folks around, listening to their chatter and dodging traffic. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. That morning I was supposed to have the day off, maybe kick back with a beer and catch a Pirates game on TV. But at the crack of dawn, my phone rang, jarring me out of a dream about fishing on the Allegheny. It was my buddy Tom, a paramedic who worked the graveyard shift on the ambulance. His voice was low, like he didn't want anyone overhearing. "Mike, I need a favor, man. It's a weird one." "What's up?" I mumbled, rubbing sleep from my eyes. "There's this guy, he passed away. His wife's friend is my wife's cousin, and they're in a bind. They need someone to move the body from the morgue to his house. Our regular driver's out sick, and I can't get anyone else on short notice. Can you help?" I sat up, blinking at the clock. 6:15 a.m. moving a body? That wasn't exactly in my job description. But Tom was a good guy, and I figured it'd be a quick trip across town. "Yeah, all right," I said. "But you owe me a burger." "Deal?" he said, and I could hear the relief in his voice. "Meet me at the county morgue by 8. By 8 a.m., I was parked outside the morgue, a squat brick building that looked like it hadn't been cleaned since the Nixon era. The air was humid, the kind that sticks to your skin, and the sky was gray with clouds that promised rain. Tom was waiting by the back entrance, looking twitchy. A couple of orderlies wheeled out a gurney with a body draped in a white sheet. They slid it into the back of my van like it was just another piece of cargo. Tom handed me a slip of paper with an address and a couple of 20s for gas and trouble. "Just take him to his mom's place on Maple Street," Tom said. "His wife's there sorting out the funeral stuff. Should be straightforward." I nodded, but my stomach was doing flips. I'd never hauled a corpse before. The orderlies slammed the van doors, and just like that, it was me and the dead guy. I climbed into the driver's seat, adjusted my mirrors, and pulled out onto the road. The radio stayed off. Something about blasting classic rock felt wrong with a body in the back. Driving through town, I tried to focus on the familiar sights. The diner where I got my morning coffee, the hardware store with its faded sign, the kids riding bikes on the sidewalk. But my eyes kept flicking to the rearview mirror. The sheet was still in place, the shape beneath it unmoving. I told myself to chill out. It was just a job, like delivering a couch or a fridge. Except this delivery used to breathe. About 10 minutes in, I felt it. A weight on my right shoulder, like someone had rested their hand there. My heart lurched, and the van swerved into the next lane. A horn blared as I yanked the wheel back, my pulse hammering. I glanced over my shoulder. Nothing. Just the sheet, the gurney, the empty van. "Get a grip, Mike," I muttered, wiping sweat from my forehead. I reached for my pack of Marlboros in the cup holder, figuring a smoke might calm my nerves. As I fumbled for the lighter, my eyes darted to the rearview mirror. And that's when I saw him. The sheet was pulled back. The guy was sitting up on the gurney, his head tilted toward me. His eyes were open, glassy but locked on mine. His face was pale, waxy, like a mannequin, but his lips were curled into a faint smile. I froze, my hand halfway to the cigarettes. The van was still rolling, but I couldn't look away. Then he spoke. "Hey, driver," he said, his voice low and raspy like he'd been gargling gravel. "Were you talking me?" My foot slammed on the brake. The van screeched to a stop at a red light, and I whipped around to look. Nothing. The sheet was back in place, the body lying flat. No movement, no sound. My chest heaved as I stared, waiting for something, anything. But it was just me and the corpse again. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. "Okay, Mike," I whispered. "You're losing it. Too much coffee, not enough sleep." But then the voice came again, clearer this time, like he was leaning right over my shoulder. "Not going home," he said. "Take me to my mom's. That's where I want to be. And hey, you got flowers in your gut." A chill ran down my spine. Flowers in my gut? What the hell did that mean? And then he laughed, a low, wet chuckle that made my skin crawl. I didn't think. I just acted. I threw the van into park, flung open the door, and stumbled out onto the sidewalk. A pickup truck swerved to avoid me, the driver yelling something I didn't catch. I stood there, gasping, staring at the van like it was haunted. After a minute, I forced myself to move. I needed to check. I needed to know I wasn't crazy. I crept to the back of the van, my hands shaking as I opened the doors. The gurney was there, the sheet undisturbed. I hesitated, then grabbed the edge of the sheet and pulled it back. The guy was just as dead as he'd been at the morgue. Mid-40s, maybe, with a scruffy beard and a face that looked tired even in death. No signs of life. No creepy smile. Just a body. I let out a shaky breath and closed the doors. My cigarettes were still in the front, so I lit one up, leaning against the van as I tried to make sense of it. Was it a hallucination? A dream? I hadn't been drinking, hadn't taken anything stronger than aspirin. But that voice, that laugh, it felt real. I called Tom. "You need to get down here," I said, giving him the intersection. "Something's wrong." He showed up 15 minutes later, looking annoyed. "What's the deal, Mike? You okay?" I told him everything. The hand on my shoulder, the guy sitting up, the voice, the flowers in my gut. Tom listened, his frown deepening. When I finished, he sighed. "You sure you didn't sneak a beer this morning?" "Screw you," I snapped. "I'm not making this up." He raised his hands. All right. Let's just get this done. I'll ride with you to the mom's place." We delivered the body to a little house on Maple Street, where the guy's mom and his wife were waiting. The wife, a thin woman with red-rimmed eyes, barely looked at us as we carried the gurney inside. The mom, though, kept muttering about how her boy didn't deserve this. It was a grim scene, but we got it done and left as quick as we could. A couple weeks later, I met Tom for a beer at a dive bar downtown. The Pirates were losing again, and the jukebox was playing some old Springsteen. We got to talking about that day, and I brought up the flowers thing again. Tom's face changed, like he just remembered something. "You know," he said, swirling his beer, "I didn't want to say anything before, but there's more to that guy's story. His name was Charlie. Charlie Novak. He had a bad stomach problem, an ulcer that went untreated for years. That's what killed him. But my wife heard from her cousin that Charlie's wife, Karen, might have helped things along." I leaned forward. "Helped how?" Tom lowered his voice. "Charlie liked his whiskey. Not a drunk, but he'd have a few too many, and Karen hated it. Word is she started slipping him something. Pills, maybe, to make him sick when he drank. Supposed to scare him into quitting. But whatever she gave him, it tore up his stomach worse. By the time he saw a doctor, the ulcer had eaten through him. He didn't stand a chance." I felt a knot in my chest. "You think she poisoned him?" Tom shrugged. "Not saying that. But it's funny, ain't it? You hear him talk about flowers in your gut, and then we find out his gut's what killed him. Makes you wonder." I didn't sleep well that night. Or the next. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Charlie sitting up in the back of my van, that creepy smile on his face. And then, about a month later, it got worse. I started having stomach pains. Sharp, burning ones, like someone was twisting a knife in my gut. I ignored it for a while, figuring it was stress or bad takeout. But it kept getting worse, so I went to the doctor. They ran tests, and the next thing I know, I'm in the hospital with a gastritis diagnosis. The doc said it was treatable, but I'd need to watch my diet, cut out the coffee and the smokes. As he talked, all I could think about was Charlie's voice. "You got flowers in your gut." I started wondering if he'd been trying to warn me. Like maybe his spirit, or whatever was left of him, knew something I didn't. Maybe he saw the seeds of my own trouble, blooming inside me like some kind of twisted garden. I got better eventually, but I never drove a shuttle van again. And I never forgot Charlie Novak. Sometimes, late at night, I think about what he said. About flowers. About how something beautiful can grow in a place that's all wrong, eating you up from the inside. And I wonder if Karen ever knew what she'd done. If she ever felt him watching her, the way I felt him watching me. Well, folks, that's the tale of Flowers in the Gut. I hope it gave you a good chill, something to think about when the house is quiet and the shadows get long. If you like this one, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next spooky story. We've got plenty more where this came from, perfect for us night owls who love a little scare. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time. Sweet dreams.